reader. And are we recording? Yes, are we? Are we on the right mic? I don't fucking know, because I'm completely confused and lost. Hi. Time for another What's Up. So, this looks really loud. Hold on a minute. Am I on the right mic? I really should have checked this before I hit record. I'm on... I'm a fucking idiot. Yes, I was on the wrong fucking microphone. That's why it looked a bit weird. There was no reviews last week, right? And you can tell by the stressed look in my face, it's because of this fucking thing. It's the new but not quite new PC. There was some issues with it that started cropping up at the very beginning of this week. Monday morning when I was starting to record the reviews for this week, like last Monday going into yesterday, there was some issues going on with Adobe Premiere Pro, and it just started freezing, and I don't know what the fuck was causing it. Oh no, what the fuck was causing it? And because the old PC, the one that used to sit here, is now has now been wiped. It's been completely wiped, and it's a fresh install of Windows, and I'm getting ready to sell that one on because this one's better. I couldn't switch over to the old PC to basically start encoding reviews and stuff to get them uploaded for this week, and it's been a stressful week, folks. Just fucking around with annoying PC problems. It turns out that it was a very simple fix. Basically, the AIO, not an AIO like this, but the all-in-one cooler, water cooler, it simply needed reseated. That was it. That was essentially it. Here's me pulling out memory, pulling out graphics cards, fucking doing fan curves and all sorts of stupid shit, and then like fucking after 7 hours, and well actually it wasn't 7 hours, it was more like 2 days. After 2 days of fucking around, it was the fucking heatsink that needed reseating. The interesting thing was, it wasn't as if there was any temperature spikes, there wasn't any, but it was more like, it must have been like a corner of the actual heat spreader on the chip wasn't getting better contact, but the temperature that the motherboard is reading is from the center underside of the chip where the thermal probe thing is. So the middle bit was cool, but the outer bits were roasting fucking hot. That's what the problem was. That's why it kept fucking freezing. So cross fingers, touch wood, the reviews will be back next week, and there's probably going to be about 5 or 6 of them because I'm making up for the week that I just missed out there. So yeah, it's going to be a relatively short What's Up again, folks, because the only items that have came in has been e-liquid. It's been e-liquid that's popped in, plus a pod kit. You won't want a first look of a pod kit, so again, going to be a relatively quiet first look. On the subjects of liquid though, this has been released. Let's drag you into here. And here we are, folks. I'm moving the camera, seriously. So here we are, folks. It is the late... I'm having one of those days there. So I'm going to move you there. I'm then going to hit that button. Nope. I'm going to hit that button instead. There. Cropping. The 4th in the Regency line, and it's the Princess. This one is a full out fruit mix. Higher end, not high end expensive, but higher end tropical notes in this one. Dragon fruit, grape, little bit of watermelon, plus a few other things thrown in there as well. Now, it says in the description, if you head over to Exceptional Vapes and you head over and buy a bottle of it to try it out, it says there's cooling. Don't worry, it's not going to rip the back of your throat out. It's there for a specific reason. The tropicals. Because if you're dealing with tropical flavours or any kind of higher zingy flavour, it's always good to drop a tiny bit of cooling in there. And you're talking about what? I think the recipe that I gave, from what I remember, the recipe that I held on to Carol, it was like 0.5%. It's not even 1% cooling, it's 0.5, so it's a tinge, just a subtle, very subtle hint of coolness. And the idea is that wraps around the higher end zingy kind of tropical flavours in the liquid to entice that zinginess out a little bit more, to kind of separate the high end tropicals from the rest of the fruits that's in the mix. Yeah, it's another fruity vape. It's another fruity vape. There's 2 more to go in the Regency line, and that's the Regency line. It's 6 flavours and basically wrapped up. The next flavour, I'm probably going to release the next flavour round about October, November, and it's going to be a wintry one. I've got a couple of ideas running through my head, but I don't want to end up making it the kind of winter flavour that you only vape during winter and nobody buys it during summer. So I'm going for that kind of leaning towards a winter-like flavour, but not being full out Christmassy, like, you know, candy cane or gingerbread, that kind of thing. I'm trying to avoid that for the next flavour, and the next flavour's probably gonna it's gonna be October, November. It'll be before December, that's for sure. October, November. So yeah, the Princess is up on the Exceptional Vapes website, so if you fancy getting a bottle of it, pop on over. I do get a little bit of a cut from each sale. It's not a lot, but it's a fair cut, put it that way, because remember, Carol's doing the mixing, the bottling, the packaging, the labelling, the shipping. He's doing everything. All I do is hand over a recipe. That's basically it. So it's a fair cut. It was actually more than I was expecting, to be honest, but it's a fair cut. So yeah, head over to, I can't link to it down there because of fucking YouTube rules, but you know, there's going to be no link down there, but instead what you can do is head over to google.com or .co.uk and type in Exceptional Vapes UK, and you should see the Princess there for sale over at Exceptional Vapes. It's a rather nice fruity mix. Everyone knows that when it comes to me, fruits, custards, tobacco. That's what I like. Fruits, custards and tobacco. There is not going to be a tobacco liquid in the 6 flavours for the Regency line, because Exceptional's already got their own tobacco line that's already in the process of coming out. So for the Regency line, it's going to be like fruitiness and desserts. It's basically what the Regency line's going to be. So yeah, head over to Exceptional, grab yourself a bottle, see what you think about it. It's a good tropical mix. It's a decent tropical mix. I thoroughly enjoyed coming up with the flavours. Plus it's dragon fruit. Suddenly you can't go wrong with a decent dragon fruit. You really can't. The only tricky thing with dragon fruit is if you put too much dragon fruit in the mix, it completely obliterates anything on the lower end of the flavour scale. And it took about a month and a half, roughly a month and a half, to get the scaling right of the percentages. Got there in the end though. Anyway, last night, the lads over at the Saturday Vape Show, Simon, Pugs, Nevins, Blumpkin, Bearded Viking and the gang, had a kind of, it wasn't open mic, or it kind of was open mic, but you could basically jump in to their Streamlabs and stream along with them, and Simon had a buzzer to buzz people out if they were getting boring. That's the kind of thing that they do. I ended up being in the show for most of the show. So yeah, if you head over to the Saturday Vape Show's YouTube channel, or if I remember to do it, I'll pop a link in the description. You can head over and watch last night's show. Last night's show was rather fun. I am one of 2 guests next week. Like official, actual guests, not someone that just jumps in. So I'm going to be one of 2 guests that are on the Saturday show next Saturday, which is Saturday this is the 16th. It'll be Saturday wow, we're getting to the end of July. Oh, fucking seriously? Next week's the 22nd, and then it's the 29th, and then we're in August. Where the fuck is this year going? It's like, fucking seriously. But yeah, Saturday the 22nd, I'm going to be one of 2 guests on for the Saturday Vape Show. The second guest, I'm going to leave that announcement up to the lads over at the Saturday Vape Show. It's going to be an interesting show. Put it that way. It's going to be a very interesting show. if the second guest manages to get a bit of spare time in real life and actually pop onto the show. But it's going to be a rather interesting show next week. But I'm going to be on the Saturday Vape show next Saturday. It starts at round about 8:30ish or something like that. Round about 8:30 in the evening, carries on to just before 11 o'clock or 10:30 or something like that. So yeah, again, link in the description if you want to pop over and subscribe to them. Go ahead. It's a fun show. It's definitely a fun show. Now, what else is there? That's actually it. Because I'm looking at the notes, and the only two things in the notes is mention the juice, mention Saturday Vape show. That's it. That is literally it. I am going to touch on a subject though. Dovepole. I don't know what's happening over there. There was an announcement made about 2 weeks ago by Andy Wilkinson, who was one of the leads, if not the lead, of Dovepole UK. And what Dovepole instituted sometime at the beginning of last year, going into spring of last year, is that they instituted individual country kind of, not groups, that's not the right way, and it's not marketing either, because they didn't just do marketing. It was like a bundle between repairs, marketing and wholesaling. And instead of the company over in China, Dovepole Central over in China, taking care of everything, what Dovepole decided to do is what several other companies did, like Aspire, and they decided to set up individual repair places and individual marketing opportunities in the country that they're selling in. So there was Dovepole UK, there was Dovepole EU, and I think there was a Dovepole United States and Canada. Well, Dovepole shut everything down. Not their main site, but the spin-off sites, they've shut them all down. There was an announcement made that Dovepole UK had basically closed their doors up at the beginning of this month. And also, along with that, what basically happened is the repair facilities and repair follow-throughs that happened for Dovepole UK also closed down at the same time. It then happened, I think this happened last week, that Dovepole's online sales on the dovepole.com website, gone. They shut it down. Now, I think the latter, their actual web store, has got a lot to do with the Chinese laws that are going on to do with the electronic cigarettes. So dovepole.com is now basically the marketing front for Dovepole, but they're no longer actually selling on that website. I think that particular shutdown has got a lot to do with the new laws that were instituted in China about 1.5 years ago to do with exportation and sales of electronic cigarettes within the Chinese wholesale market to do with e-cigs. That's probably the reason that Dovepole decided to close that off. But why did they decide to shut down Dovepole UK, Dovepole EU and all the other little miniature individual places where customers of Dovepole could contact them instead of contacting Dovepole Central over in China for any inquiries? Because Dovepole UK, Andy Wilkinson and the gang, they were doing some damn good work. Simple as that. They were doing some really good work on the ground, in the community, for fans of Dovepole products, and all of a sudden, gone. They were given no reason, just a timetable as to when to shut everything down and walk away. And that timetable has now come and gone. It's now come and gone. I honestly don't know why a company would pull back as much of their marketing and as much of their groundwork as Dovepole have done recently. Now, there has been cases where other companies, like Aspire for instance, has slowly wound back what they're doing for the likes of Aspire UK and Aspire EU. But they're winding it back very slowly. They're not going, see ya, you're all sacked. They're not doing that. They're slowly winding it back. Again, I think a lot of that has got to do with China. Because thinking about what was happening Over in China a year and a half ago, when the new laws were put in place for electronic cigarettes and vaping for Chinese exportation sales, a lot of the reasons that a lot of these companies like Aspire, to a certain extent like Geek Vape, like Dovpo, decided to spin off smaller aspects of what they were doing in China and spin it off into the UK or in the EU was to basically remove a large bulk of what was being referred back to China and transplant it to the country where the person was inquiring from. That way China themselves, like the Dovpo China, the main one, they didn't have to get involved. They didn't have to get involved in the marketing. They didn't have to get involved in the sales. They didn't have to get involved in the repairs. And more importantly, they didn't have to get involved in the wholesaling. Now that last one, the wholesaling point of view, is where the sticking point is, because the laws that were passed in China a year and a half ago has got a lot to do with sales. You sell, this is the Dovpo ethos, still working, still using it, but you sell one item, right, you sell one Dovpo ethos from the dovpo.com website, right? You've then got to fill in an exportation form. You've then got to sign it. You pop this, and it's packaging obviously, in a box and ship it out. Done deal. Anyone that does eBay sales and stuff like that knows what I'm talking about. You get a pallet of these fuckers, like a pallet of 1,000 on a shipping pallet, stick it in a shipping container. The way that the laws were, and I think you know where I'm going with this, the way that the laws were written out by the Chinese government, it's not a case of one catch-all customs and exportation form with a signature. No, it's 1,000 individual forms. The way that the laws were worded by the Chinese government, it sounded and looked as if every single product had to have a customs and excise exportation form filled in, logged with the database and sent to the Chinese government. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but if you look at what's been happening with the likes of Dovpo and to a certain extent with the likes of Geek Vape and Aspire, slowly rolling at least the sales aspect of it back and offloading the sales to wholesaling and individual retailers in that country, that could be why Dovpo decided, fuck this, we're shutting down the shop. But it's the individual country ones that's got me scratching my head. Because here's the thing. All Dovpo would need to do is ship out that pallet of Dovpo ethoses to the UK. That's now no longer Dovpo's problem. It's now Dovpo UK's problem. Any returns, any inquiries, any sales inquiries, any marketing inquiries, any wholesale inquiries no longer has to be directed to Dovpo in China. It's got to be directed to Dovpo in the UK, which means any returns that goes on, this no longer had to be shipped to China, which means another fucking form being filled in, and then Dovpo in China returns it out, which means another fucking form being filled in. Now the UK branch can do it. No forms. None. But all of a sudden, gone. There was no reason given. There was no reason at all given. I still think, looking at the way that it's been done, I think a lot of it's to do with the Chinese market and what's happened to the Chinese market since the new e-cig rules came into effect in China a year and a half ago. Because if you look at what Aspire's doing, Aspire UK, where the fuck have they went? They're still technically there. I don't hear a fucking thing from them now. It's all Aspire in China. So it's not just Dovpo doing this. It's not just Dovpo. There's several other companies that are slowly winding back on what they implemented after those Chinese rules came in. I don't know though. All I can do is for folks like Andy Wilkinson. Good man, Andy. He's just a good man. For the folks like Andy Wilkinson that put a lot of time and a lot of effort in Dovpo UK, I hope you find, well, you've probably already found another job, let's face it, in the industry, because Andy was pretty well known, right? Wouldn't surprise me if a UK company has snapped him up already, but for all the other folks that work for Dovepo UK, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you can I've left Second Life open. I have. It's minimised. That's what the dinging noise is in the background, folks, but hopefully you land on your feet and you find another position in a UK e-liquid place, not e-liquid, UK vaping place of some sort, or even an EU vaping place. There's jobs there. There's jobs there. Whether it's jobs like the one that Dovepo used to have, who knows? I don't know. Oh! Got a classic back out. Q-Mini, and this one's branded as well with the old Vaping with Vic logo before it turned into a steampunk circle. You know, I was getting nostalgic. I thought, you know what? I mean, I was using this, which is the blue Kevlar G-Class that I got from Aries. Anyone remember Aries? Aries JJ years ago sent this out. But he sent this out for, not this particular one, this was actually from Yeehee themselves. The one from Aries is, it's up there on the shelf. But you know what I thought? I suddenly got all nostalgic. This is still the best mod that Yeehee ever made. Yeehee and SX Mini. This is the Q Mini, which is the little brother of the original Q class. It's the best mod they ever made. I mean, okay, the G class got very fucking close, but for comfort of use, it's the lines. It's the lines of the mod. It's a fucking phenomenal mod. And this thing's what? When did the Q Mini get released? It was out before the second run of the G class, which means this thing probably got released in 2015. It's an old mod. It's an old mod, but just the comfort in it. It's a fucking phenomenal mod. The board and chip is starting to show its age. There's that problem with the parasitic draw that plagued the older Yeehee chips, but it's still the best mod they ever made. Best mod they ever made. I mean, they've made the G-Class V2. I know you're watching this, David, from SX Mini. You need a Q Mini V2. Just ignore the Q class. That was way too fucking big for a dual 18650 mod. That's why the Q Mini outsold the Q class. Way outsold it, because the original Q class was too damn big. You need a Q Mini V2, Yeehee and SX Mini, and I bet you this thing sells by the fucking bucket load, because it was a very popular mod when it first got released. Q Mini V2, that's what you guys need over there. Yeah, I got all nostalgic. So yeah, it's the Blaze Solo on top of the Q Mini. Still got the Dovepo Ethos running, and inside the Ethos tank, well, this thing needs filled. I've still got the Hazard, again by Dovepo. Thoroughly enjoying this. Still thoroughly enjoying it. It's a damn good vape from that RBA head in there. And of course, on the tobacco side of things, I've got the Unibox from Vapex and the folks over at Vapefly. Is it Vapefly? Yeah, it's Vapefly. Still got the Albrecht 2 sitting on top, and in here I have got Cavendish from Drake's, which I need to review because there is basically only a tank full left in here, so I need to review that this coming week. Hopefully I don't fucking forget. And I think that's it for the What's Up, folks. I can't think of anything else. It's we're basically in the middle of summer, and the middle of summer is traditionally a very quiet time in the world of e-cigs. It's a very quiet time because the Western Hemisphere, most of the countries in the Western Hemisphere is in the middle of the school summer holidays. The parents are skint, so they're not going to be buying that much vape gear. You won't really be seeing a lot of big releases until we get into halfway through August, as the slow climb down into the autumn season starts to begin. So July's always been a quiet month. It's always been a quiet month when it comes to releases. It's the dead period in the middle of the year because, hey, everyone's in fucking holiday right now. Everyone's in holiday. Anyway, so don't forget, folks, you can buy that right there. Where am I going? There we go. That right there. If you're a fruity fan, if you like fruits, there's no cream, there's no custard, it's just bang out fruits. Fruits with a subtle hint of a tiny bit of cooling in the background just to zing up the tropicals. You can get that, wrong side, you can get that over at Exceptional Vapes. Just head on to Google and search for Exceptional Vapes. And of course, next week there will be myself and another surprise special super duper guest on the Saturday Vape Show, along with Pugs, Nevins, Bearded Viking, Simon and the rest of the fellows. And if you want to go and subscribe to their channel, the link to the Saturday Vape Show channel is there in the description. The reviews should be back next week. The reason there was no reviews this week is because this fucking computer decided to be a bastard. Yeah. Fucking thermal paste. That's what I get for cheaping out on the thermal paste, folks. You know, that's what I get for cheaping out on the thermal paste. Anyway, that's it from me, folks. As always, thanks for watching and have a good one.